I think Tesla cars are overrated.
Oh, we're streaming, so that one's that
Say
one's
that
on stream.
now.
All right, everybody, give it a hot take. I don't want to be
No.
the only one.
All right.
Not everything on Reddit should be taken as fact.
Gosh.
Sorry.
Um, Dwayne the Rock Johnson can have gay sex with whoever he wants to get them on set.
Is that
Is
a
that a
thing?
real tweet?
That
I
was a
couldn't
real.
confirm
That
or
was a
deny.
real tweet from Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
Huh.
It doesn't matter. Anyways, hello and welcome to Whose Turn Is It Anyway? A show where a bunch of casual players play Avatar Legends, the role-playing game, not so casually. I'm your host and dungeon master, or GM, I guess in this case, Garrett, and welcome to our season 1 recap of Avatar Legends. So if you have been wanting to catch up, this is the place to do it. This will be a pretty free flowing conversational stream, kind of detailing the different events of Avatar Legends, talking through our different thoughts and feelings about the campaign so far and the game so far, because they're coming out of a Kickstarter, wrapped up. I think you can now buy for realsies now. But yeah, I guess we'll just. Oh, I guess we can just start off with if you want to describe. Don't whoever wants to go first. I'll describe the ask and then push over to y'all who wants to go first. I guess describe how you kind of your character, the basic vibe of them as they kind of came in. How did they come into the situation of this campaign? Basically, how did they get to North Chongling? That sounds right. I prepped today, guys. How they got there, maybe even like how you came up with the character that you wanted to play, all that kind of stuff. Quick elephant in the room. Yes, Jake is not here. He is still missing in action. So no Estrad inside secrets this time. Maybe for season 2 we can.
Grab the straw.
I'll never know the deep character detail building process of a Strahd.
I am convinced Jake builds most of his characters in a very whimsical fashion.
I'm fairly sure he was an airbender because everyone else had picked which bending they were, and he said, "I'll be an airbender."
Mm-hmm. He's a
That's
real
his
one for that.
He takes an idea and keeps going.
Mm-hmm. I
Unflinching,
don't even
unwavering.
really think I don't remember like my thought process of like picking my character. I think I've always liked earthbending because I'm obsessed with Toph. Like even as like a little girl, I was so excited that there was like a badass like female character in an anime show that didn't have huge tits because that was the trope. I was like, oh
Nickelodeon.
no, like
Thanks.
TV7
she's just a
Nickelodeon
cool
programming.
character. I don't know, like I feel like a lot of like strong female characters, they're either the Katara version of like super mom caring friend or hyper sexualized, and it's really rare to get something in the middle. And I think Toph did that really well, so I always really liked her a lot. And so I wanted to be an earthbender. And then I just sort of like was sketching out my character one day, and that's how I developed the whole personality.
And what is that
There you
personality
go.
for those who are catching up?
Oh yeah. So Giva's pretty stoic. I decided to give her like this sort of southern drawl accent, and she talks pretty slowly. Um, I don't know why I chose that voice. It sounds like a female Mida, which you'll all trolled me for. Um, Great, guys. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and so like I made her pretty stoic, and me and Kayla actually made a joint backstory. So I was on the Earth Nation words. The Earth Nation like side of things in Chenbao, I think. Um, which kind of just hints at like all the lore of the Avatar game that it comes with, which is super cool. And also a lot of reading.
Yep.
Uh, but yeah, so me and Kayla's character formed a rebellion group to unite earthbenders and waterbenders that are disgruntled, and it is called the Iron Lotus. Yeah, so my character's, like this sort of stoic co-leader of these rebels, and she's pretty close-minded at first, but she opens up when she starts meeting the Fire Nation people, and then Kimato's sort of my rock in this Earth Nation pun. It's okay if you don't get it. But yeah, I think that's a perfect segue for Kayla.
Thank you for setting that up. Yeah, so I'm Kimado. I'm from the Northern Water Tribe. I based my character off of the fact I wanted to be a waterbender because all of the BuzzFeed quizzes say that I'm a waterbender. So I wanted to do that, and I liked the idea of having a really powerful waterbender that could bloodbend, but like really doesn't like to, kind of like Katara does. Like she's forced to bloodbend. Spoiler alert. So the idea was that like I could bloodbend, but I wouldn't do it unless my friends really needed help, or like me if my life was in danger. So I have successfully bloodbended in this first season, so that's great. Only one singular time.
Took a while.
Um, and I have learned a little bit of healing now, I think. I can't remember.
Yes.
So yeah, that's kind of what I based my character off of. And I left the Northern Water Tribe because, they have those snobbish traditions that don't allow female waterbenders other than healers. So I left their customs and fled to the Earth Kingdom. That was, I guess, I'm going to say is probably close to the Northern Water Tribe, where I met Giva. And then, in order to throw off the chains of the oppressors, we began to form the Iron Lotus, so that we could fight against oppressive regimes like that. So we've been traveled to the Fire Nation, and we were trying to collect supplies and followers where we met Awase.
Dun, 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 segue.
Oh, popcorn on it, say. Okay. Um, give me a character building question. There's a lot of ways I can approach this. Give me just a talking point to start with, please, Garrett.
Why did you pick firebending?
I picked firebending entirely because it was the easiest one. Because we are Roku era, yes.
Yep.
And I believe I had already gotten the character and this would be the story pitch. We were going to be starting in the Fire Nation. I said, I don't need any plot contrivances while I'm here. I don't need a too elaborate of a backstory. Just purely, I'm a member of our Fire Nation, which kind of ended up working pretty well because we sort of have this very like anti-dictatorial, anti-authoritarian regime. Or excuse me, for our other character bases with the really everybody else's. So I wanted to be the way to not necessarily humanize, but the way to have a character to interact with who is a little more complex than just simply bad. I'm not just the bad man. So, in kind of keeping with that idea of like authority and autonomy, I decided to so I don't really why I did it. Now I'll come back to it, but it kind of helped compound with some of my roleplay ideas for why I want to play as a girl, a young woman, Ayase. It was kind of also just a little bit of a roleplay test for me because I just never play female characters, women in general. I don't remember. Did this actually start before Issa? When did we start?
Yes.
We started this before.
Yeah. The dirtiest truth of it all is Ayase and Issa were both kind of two halves of an original idea that I just implemented into different ways. Because I wanted to make somebody who was kind of politically involved. Because I never really play characters that are super part of the system. I usually play these like real rebel without a cause types. These just anxious young men who are coping with the world in their own ways. So I wanted to just challenge myself, do something a little opposite. Ayase in particular was born out of my desire to not. This is gonna sound funny for you, Garrett. I know
Mm-hmm.
a character who is not metagaming basically.
Mm-hmm.
I intentionally chose. Okay, I don't want to ever. I don't want to have like the pluses to rolls to the attack. You know, there's the is passion the attack main role.
Yeah, pretty much, I think so.
And
So that's why I picked the successor, because I'm like, okay, this makes me defense and evasion, which means I'm never going to be the massive damage dealer, but it'll have interesting combo potential, ways that I can assist others. So I wanted to do a whole thing on like buffing and debuffing, basically. And from there, that's how I got to my backstory. So decided to keep in line with that whole idea of authority and autonomy once more. I basically am a black sheep of the family. You know, I'm basically the unwanted daughter of a politically ambitious, much more simple bad man character. I'm the bad man's daughter, which gives a nice way for the characters to see a different side, interact with them. However, you know, there was no humanization of our Batman character. He was simply extremely bad, especially to me. So that's kind of how I was able to find a way for me to be able to latch on to the party, a way for us to be able to, a way for me to not just so easily say, I joined, because I have like this whole baggage of tradition, heritage, and trauma all sort of beaten into me. And well, I guess kind of like they said, they are breaking the chains in a sense. I do too. They're training, realizing I am more than what I was told to be. I'm actually pretty sick. Canonical is chi blocking, but I use the lightning stuff because it works so well with my abilities. Also, a little bit of my character was a not so thinly veiled. What if Ty but also May? You know. So, just combining some characters I like from Fire Nation. So.
What if I were all
characters.
3 girls?
I think that's what like Ayase does really well is sort of making the story more compelling in like the role playing capacity of not just being very straightforward join, like you said. I think you force the characters to really evaluate their viewpoints. Like me and Kayla come in a part of this rebel group and Diva, like, for sure, kind of looks down on the Fire Nation for being very pompous, kind of succumbing to this sort of dictator politics. And, like, that's everything she's against. And when she meets Ayase, like, I view you as being very much a part of that system and representative of it. But then as we get to know your character over the episodes, we find out that you are that black sheep, that you don't fit in either. And I do think it like creates this like reconciliation of viewpoints that's really cool.
Yep, and that's what I was going for and more. Like we had some outstanding roleplay moments in the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just for lack of a better word, I like to just add complexity to the narrative when I can. Yeah,
Shocker.
I'm tedious.
I get like what you're saying though about wanting to play someone different. I feel like in D&D, like my past 2 characters, Billy, I don't know if we ever streamed that. I can't
No.
remember.
We
Okay.
only we recorded the like that like one-shot finale episode, I think, but we didn't like actually
Mm-hmm.
stream it.
Oh yeah. So I
Or two,
played
actually. I think that I tried to. That didn't happen, but yeah.
yeah. But yeah, like I play whimsical, chaotic characters that are like very emotional, do whatever they want. And I think with Giva, I was trying to break away from that a little bit and like having more of like a mission and like a goal and being passionate about something very specific and meaningful.
Awesome. I guess one last thing before we actually go and recap the first part of the adventure. Obviously, uh, I'm fairly sure if my memory's right, I gave y'all kind of the choice of what era to start off in. I think I only gave you like basically the summary of each one, and then just let y'all vote on it. So what drew y'all to Sozin's era?
I personally like that it wasn't really covered. Like, I mean, they talked about Avatar Roku, but
Mm-hmm.
um, I feel like there wasn't a whole lot. I mean, he was the one right before Aang, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So he was mentioned, so it is familiar, but it's also not really explored. So I feel like there's a little more freedom. Like my bloodbending and leaving the Northern Water Tribe. That's probably not something that would have happened in Roku's era, but because
Yep.
it's not really talked about, who knows? There could have been bloodbenders
Mm-hmm.
before, lady. Whatever. Hama, that was her name.
Yep.
So that's why I liked it. I felt like maybe a little more freedom, but also some familiarity where we might not get that familiarity with like Kyo. Sorry, my nail just came off. My press on, not my regular nail. With Kyoshi's era, because we know Kyoshi, but and of course there's like the comics,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not like the mainstream.
You read the
Concept.
comics?
I have not read the comics, but I have heavily considered it. And there's somebody that I follow on TikTok that reads them on TikTok.
Yeah.
I haven't read them,
I've been
but yeah.
listening to the first Kyoshi on Audible off and on. It's on
It's an
Audible.
audiobook?
You can get it. It's on Audible. It's free on Audible, even. At least when I get
Not
it.
sponsored.
Not sponsored.
Oh my gosh.
Sponsored, but wish we were.
If you would
I'm
like
looking to see
to,
if it's on Libby.
One day,
I would.
guys, one day.
I would figure.
There it is. Look right there. Legends of Kyoshi.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree with Kayla. I think like the only like glimpse we really get of Roku era is there's that one flashback episode in like book 3, I think, where like Roku's like, yeah, Sozin was my best friend, and then he turned evil. So it's like very
I'm like, oh,
fire.
so you
It's evil?
No.
what?
Listen, I think I've made it pretty clear Sozin's evil in this too.
I thought all the avatars were good
No.
people.
No,
Sozin,
Meg,
not
Sozin
Roku.
is the Fire Lord.
Oh. I'm
Sozin is
sorry.
the one that started the war.
Um,
I'm really bad at keeping up with lore. I'll admit it. I'm sure y'all have all noticed.
you're getting
The
better.
fact that I remembered the name Chenbao is
I,
Oh.
you
That was
you
pretty
you
good.
have, you say that you've been the most consistent about remembering the names of the cities here, more so than I have been.
Oh.
I don't think that's true, but I would like you to continue believing that is true. I don't have a good in-depth answer for this one like Kayla. I think hers is probably going to be the best. I don't know much about the Avatar universe. I watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, and then I started the Katara. No, not Katara.
Cora.
Legend of Korra,
Yep, there you go.
and I didn't finish that either. I don't know about the books. Don't read the comics. I don't know that much, so I kind of went in pretty blind. Um, and I liked the idea of picking the Avatar era, but I thought there was just going to be like a little more flexibility and maybe unknown with picking
Mm-hmm.
something else. And Roku just sounded like the spiciest. It sounded like that's where all the drama was, like right before all the Avatar shit hits the fan. So I was like, all right, like I'm here for the drama. Let's pick this one.
Yeah. Similarly, just I personally just haven't watched Korra, and the idea of too much technology in the world seemed like it could be a narrative hassle that I didn't want to have to contend with. Similarly, if you do like the Avatar, like Aang era of the show, it's just it comes with a lot of extra baggage. Like, are you just gonna like have a Sokka cameo? Like, I don't feel like, you know. So ultimately, I just thought the Roku era was gonna be cool, especially how like the tagline of political intrigue. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay, because like I said, I wanted to play a politically connected character,
Yep.
someone who's actually in the narrative, and I think it just works like really well as a storytelling era
Mm-hmm.
because, like I said, there's a lot of the unknowns. If you're only familiar with the show, like you don't see very much of this, and
Mm-hmm.
there's only glimpses through like the supplementary material. So it's a really open era, but it also has a pretty easy setting. It's the Fire Nation becoming increasingly militaristic, imperialistic, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a simple structure that I think has you know plot relevant and ultimately tragically consequential outcomes. It's like I curse me for saying this. It's like watching the prequel trilogy for Star Wars in a way.
Mm-hmm. Kind of.
It's what's going to happen, but you don't know how it's going to happen. So it's nice to see the different plot elements grow, and you see how they're expanded.
Yeah. Be careful. Caleb may finally watch Star Wars one day.
I'm
So
not
Garrett,
condoning such an action. It was just a metaphor.
what era were you hoping to do?
I was actually also in the Roku era boat because I thought it was very what for me from like a writing standpoint and a storytelling standpoint was interesting is kind of jumping into these different nations and kind of having the characters kind of see the what started the war in a way. Um, so like the resentment from like the Fire Nation to the Airbenders, y'all definitely just done an entire arc about where that kind of started in a sense. So that was very interesting to me, kind of like because there's a bunch of different plot hooks and like that, so that was very interesting to me to kind of jump in. I think I agree that Roku era feels like the most open ended, but still has like an actual ground. Where for me, like Kyoshi era is like almost too open ended in a way. Like there's obviously the books, but I was very unfamiliar with the books when we were starting this campaign. I just know everyone like loves Avatar Kyoshi because she's a badass. Which is in its own right was very interesting as well. So I was torn between those two. Then like Korra for me was also interesting, but it's like because so basically how Korra era and Aang era are both set up is that they're both basically set. They recommend, I should say, sequels to the shows. So like Korra is post the show, Aang is post the show, and both of those have like sequel baggage, which in its own right is very feels open ended, but also very tied down. But like I said, Roku era was the same. It was kind of the open ended thing that I was very cool with.
I don't like that idea of like having a sequel to like, okay, this is kind of like post Avatar the show. Like, that doesn't really make sense for me from a story perspective because you're talking about creating a whole thing after like a plot has concluded. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're in like the happy ending, phase
Yep.
or supposed to be. And I don't feel good about like rewriting that of like, okay, like Avatar just did all that, fought the big bad. They're finally, peaceful, but now like from a writer's perspective, like you're supposed to generate another sort of minor conflict after
Mm-hmm.
that. Like it's not very compelling.
Yeah, Aang was definitely less interesting to me because it's like because you're right, you're in that kind of bubble of creating a big enough threat that the characters feel like they're impacting the world without it being so big that you like destroy a continent or a city that's relevant in Korra. So it's like you're very limited in how big you can make it. And again, I don't. This for some reason the Roku era doesn't feel the same way. Like I said, it just feels because again, it was the glimpse we get of it is so microscoped into one area and ability as well. just didn't really feel like it's super wasn't scary as a writer. But that's a good enough segue to talk about how we started this whole shebang. Again, quick thing: we have another character named Estrad. They're an airbender. He he is a basically was assigned to guard the air nomads that were in the nation for to basically help build this Fire and Air Learning Center school. The school that's supposed to kind of like, or center rather, kind of a open library, university kind of field that would help kind of unite the younger generation of Fire Nation people and air nomads, kind of bring them together into a space that they can kind of grow and learn together. And then there were basically opposing forces wanting that to not get built for XYZ reason. Both within the Fire Nation and the air nomads as well. Estrada was basically assigned to help prevent some of the sabotaging that was going on from a group called the Guiding Wind, which it's our quote unquote main antagonist for most of this story. The Guiding Wind basically being a rogue faction of air nomads who wanted the air nomads to basically quit being involved in other nations and like focus inward on themselves. And so they did it by mostly sabotaging different projects like this. Our group, Ayase was very involved in kind of the political meetings surrounding all of this, including that at the start of this adventure was taken over and these meetings were run by Princess Seishan, Fire Lord Sozin's sister, for unknown reasons at the beginning of our adventure. But then we have Kimado and Giva arriving and basically flyering trying to get different supplies and rallies started for support of their Iron Lotus to get people to go back to the Earth Kingdom and support. But that was Ayase also attended this rally basically of air nomads basically speaking on trying to get basically public support because Fire Lord Sozin had frozen the Air Learning Center project until the sabotaging stopped. So they basically were having a rally to get public support, and that's when the Guiding Wind attacked, and the Guiding Wind destroyed a bit more. There was a bomb that blew up of some sort. The Guiding Wind flew away from the Fire and Air Learning Center. Estrada engaged them in combat while there were Fire Nation soldiers seemingly attacking the civilians of the random civilians of North Chongling, where the adventure takes place. So Giva and Kimado both basically jumped in to protect the people. Ayase was there, not really in combat, but kind of giving general support to the soldiers.
She
They were doing such a terrible job. I had to just boost them a tiny bit.
Um,
Just a little empowered. Just hey, you'll feel tense on the shoulder there. Okay.
Yep. And of course, we learned later that these Fire Nation soldiers were basically not actual soldiers. They were basically hired out by an unknown source that we learned later to basically help. They're basically trying to create sympathy for the Guiding Wind by the Fire Nation soldiers just being terrible. Basically a political move of sorts. They were recruited by Minister Kute, who was our very good friend Ninche's boss. Ninche being Ayase's kind of friend, family friend, also on the council. Part of Ayase's mission was to basically get Ninche to start building cool weapons of war again for Ayase's dad. Basically, Ninche had stopped doing that, as we learned, because she didn't realize, I guess, the full extent of the damage that her weapons could cause. These weapons could cause, etc., etc.
Yeah, man, I was just building bombs. I didn't know people would die. What?
She
She
built boats.
she built big boats, and then people put guns
Built
on the boats.
boats. It's like that Ghibli movie, The Wind Rises.
What are the boats for? They're not cruise ships. What did
They
she
could have been.
expect?
They could have been.
Um, so I think so. Basically the thing with Ninche is basically the engine work is really what Ninche is known for. So she basically built boats that went faster, and then they said, "Oh, these engines we can use the same thing to make bigger cannons," and that's essentially what was quote unquote stolen from Ninche.
Okay, that makes more sense. I don't take back my criticism because I know what Ninche did later,
Yep.
but
um, but yeah, they basically Minister Kute gets them to basically investigate the Guiding Wind and the Fire Nation soldiers. She offers to have given Kimito stay at her Flutterbat Inn, um, run by Mr. Poe. Poe.
Original name. Oh, yes.
Yep. Um, Poe is a funny character, as I'll explain again later. Um, but yeah, they basically do that. They go. Um, Part of this is also going and finding Estrada because Estrada just runs away from the scene. Um, that's a very typical Estrada. Estrada was doing his own thing for a lot of the season. Very typical stuff from him. So he went investigated the Guiding Wind on his own. Got his butt kicked by the second in command by the Guiding Wind, Hayate. Basically an airbender who uses a sword to enhance his slicing attacks. Ninche and Giva went to the prison. They wanted to interrogate the Guiding Wind prisoners. They learned the Guiding Wind were just let go. So they didn't get to investigate that, and then Giva and Ninche were just ambushed by Fire Nation soldiers and knocked unconscious. Though we learned later that Ninche was not actually knocked out. She basically led Giva into that alleyway.
risked my life for her. I'm still upset about it. Give us a good-hearted character who'll put her life on the line for anybody. And this girl in her murder boats took advantage of that kindness. This is not justice.
You don't understand. She had her reasons.
Did she? They weren't good ones.
Her wife was kidnapped or left her or something.
Her wife?
Yeah.
Her wife!
Her.
Oh, I didn't know we had an LGBTQ character. What's up?
So basically, Ninche's whole shebang, her whole life story is her and her wife are the ones working on these engines, basically. But her wife left her because she realized, oh, I can see what these engines will get used for, and she tried to get Ninche to walk away with her. Ninche said, "No, I want to build these boats. They're not going to do that." Ninche built the boats anyways. So her wife left her. And Ninche basically, when they get built, she was working for Ayase's father, Mr. K. Quits once she realized what the weapons are being used for, and then basically Ayase starts winning. Ayase is sent to the council to win Ninche back onto her family's side or whatever. Then Mr. K comes to town and just forces Ninche to do everything he says, or he'll kill Ayase. And that's basically her motivation for turning heel in the second half of the adventure. Let's see. But yeah, this is episode 2 that we're in. So Ayase and Kimito went to talk to the air nomads, find out what they knew about Estrad. Learned that Princess Zayshan also went to check on the air nomads. That's where the first interaction with Princess Zayshan happened. and kind of the first hints that, oh, she might not be all she appears to be too. They later learned that she had a connection to one of the that Princess Seishon was in love with one of the monks. I keep doing that. Oops.
Frozen.
She was in love with one of the monks, who also had chi blocking stuff going on, that were basically there to build the center. Sister Ryoshan. But yeah, everyone gets beat up, or not everyone. Estrad and Giva got beat up, so then when
Hey, don't name call me.
And then when I say and Kimado take them back to after I think both failing checks to try to heal on their own, have to take them back to the air nomads for healing from Sister Ryoshan, who uses her chi blocking to heal.
I think I rolled it.
Now this is oh yeah, this is the time for you to come clean, Garrett.
Oh gosh.
With those fights, was there ever any other outcome than us losing?
So your ambush fight, you were I think one fatigue away from beating them.
Don't tell me that.
Estrad had zero chance whatsoever of beating Ayate by himself.
But was your intention that I would lose in the ambush?
Yours was more intentionally 50-50. That whole fight's purpose is just basically, again, further show that there's some sort of deceit or something else going on with like the actual Fire Nation guards. The actual result of the fight, you probably you would have learned more. You'd be able to like interrogate one of the guards you beat if you had won the fight. So there was a consequence for winning, but your life wasn't in danger either. It was because they were basically there to send a message to basically say, quit investigating.
I thought it was a scripted loss. I didn't know I was that close to beating them. That makes me feel a little bit better, because I was trying very hard to make Giva the tank of the group.
Yep. I will say the game is largely designed that almost any fight can be you'll lose if you're fighting by yourself. But if you're fighting with even one other person, the fights can scale from possible to easy.
Kayla's expression just now, it was great. She was like, "Excuse me?"
Now, people like Chondro, I may have buffed a little too much. But
feel free to debuff.
Can use some easy wins, Mr. DM.
Group poll.
It's so weird. The scaling for Avatar Legends, I intended for it to be mostly a lot of smaller, easy fights.
Mm.
And
I don't know how many fights we've won. I don't.
Yeah,
I mean, to be fair.
We'll get that in the
I'm
comments.
sorry for the interruption, but
no, you're good.
I kind of like. Wait, what?
I was just saying, yeah, I don't really think there were.
Oh, my bad. Sorry, scatterbrained. I feel like in a lot of the fights, we don't have clear conclusions of winners and losers, but I really do like that from a story perspective, because that's not how real life is usually. Of well, we won this fight and everything's good. A lot of the times will be I really like the wedding episode. I think that was a really good one that was descriptive of an actual conflict. It wasn't fight the big bad and save the day. It was okay, we have to split up and handle an insane amount of variables of okay, these people are in danger. These exits are closed off right now. These guards are storming in. We had to fight off some guards. We had to save people. We had to clear out exit ways. And so it didn't really feel like a win necessarily. We didn't beat a big bad in that episode, but we did work towards resolving a conflict, and it was interesting. I like that.
Oh yeah.
Um, but it's definitely interesting, like from I don't know. I think a lot of the times in our D&D campaign, it's very big bad, you kill the big bad, you move on to the next big bad. And in Avatar, we have a sort of different dynamic going on.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of that, part of that is just DM slash GM style, obviously, but also I think Avatar Legends by nature of not being so structured, like it is a lot. It's very looser from a rule standpoint than like D&D. As we learned several times, we had to do different rules, uh, rulings and clarifications as we went. But that is one of the advantages that I do like about Avatar Legends in a way for this type of story, I should say. That is just so much looser that you can tell those kind of stories, and where anything it feels like anything can happen because it is just a lot looser structured. It's easier to fit in pieces and take out pieces to kind of scale and upscale. And a good example of that is the Fire Nation soldiers that you beat in the first episode are the exact same stat block that I used for the ambush on Just Giva in the second episode. Same stat block.
Oh.
So, like I said, that's what I kind of mean by the game kind of scales really well in that if there's less of you, it's very hard to beat the same enemy as if there are more than you. More so than like I feel like even D&D like does. It makes sense in a way that makes sense. It scales in a way that makes sense, I should say.
Yeah, and at least theoretically, with its gameplay elements, it has a much stronger focus on your personal narrative. I guess
Mm-hmm.
your growth, your role play, and even like your traumas, your fears.
Mm-hmm.
There's different. I forget the exact term, status versus condition. All the different conditions that are all just
Mm-hmm.
I am angry, I am reckless, I am afraid. They all do different little things, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
The only
Yeah.
thing that kind of loses me on that is the way that there's sort of two separate rules. Like there's the rules for out of combat versus in combat.
Mm-hmm.
Or, the actions you can do out of combat, which are kind of hard to do unless we as players declare them. Like I wish to plead.
Yeah.
A little hard
Yeah. It's
to
yeah.
get that important.
It's very weird because D&D 5e, and especially with how they're reinventing the rules right now, is very much they want you to basically play the game as far as rolling the dice and stats wise the same and like in results wise the same as in combat and out of combat. Like you can do everything. You can basically do everything from your skill list out of combat and in combat, and it'll have about the same results at rules as intended. Whereas you just literally can't even access your like moves out of combat. They really want you to just kind of flavor into that. I think for example, we did this a few times towards the end, but like not every fight even typically goes through like their initiative or combat sequence even. Like we did a lot of like rely on your skills and training as you fight, like Ninche. Like we didn't really do a full initiative because basically their way of like doing combat is if a fight it has a very clear winner, don't bother with going into sequences. And y'all were very clearly going to beat Ninche. There was no real danger of losing to Ninche. It was just kind of how you went about it and the role play about it.
If the GM doesn't want the character to get hurt,
I don't want you
Ninche's
to kill
precious
Ninche.
cinnamon precious.
For the first like several episodes, I thought her name was Lynch with an L. Like I thought her name was Lynch, and I was like, well, that's really morbid, and I was so confused.
Yeah, and then
That's an aside.
enunciate.
Listen, I know that I as a GM need to enunciate more. I get it. But anyways, going back into our recap. So episode 3, our group. That one's a really funny episode because we had to go back and stream that one again because that was the first technical difficulty episode, where we just like lost 30 minutes of filming. Whatever. It was that 30 minutes was mostly I think the characters just waking up that after getting their butts beat and deciding how they were going to sneak in as janitors into the city hall, basically. Uh, the finest moments for Kiva and Kimito, who decided to roleplay male janitors.
Oh my gosh, I wish I was at my desk and I had my mustache. I still keep it. I need to like keep a stash of fake mustaches just for this. It's so funny as a running gag.
Oh man, but yeah, Ayase on Estrad was keeping an eye on things outside of the city hall, where he of course runs into more guiding wind people. Specifically, Condro. Condro basically says, "Yeah, I'm here to gloat because I won." And then we cut to Ayase in the city hall meeting, finding out, "Oh no, did not win. Actually, we definitely very much lost because Ninja basically swings the vote in favor of not building the fire air loading center and declaring the guiding wind basically as outcasts that need to be arrested, which seems like a good thing until Mr. K, Ayase's father, walks in the room, says he's going to arrest all of the innocent air nomads in the city as well, and all of that. Ayase and Kimito, meanwhile, are just going from office to office, finding out lots of different secrets and things like that. They find a letter. And basically, they find out that the princess is. She had two love letters. One saying that she has a secret marriage coming up to a K. Very ambiguous on whether or not it was going to be Mr. K or Condro for a while.
Funny.
And then also another love letter that she started to write to somebody else. Again, the characters didn't know that it was Sister Ryo-san at the time. They find that out later. But yeah, that was I think that was the biggest takeaway from all that. I know there was a little bit of like also some things with the city guard getting paid off to like look away at different things, dealing with the guiding wind and stuff like that. That was all again Mr. K just kind of taking over the scene basically. His whole thing basically trying to, because basically their plot was to basically do this whole fake marriage, and then basically make it seem like Firelord Sozin kills all of Condro's people to make basically direct Condro at the Firelord, because they believe Condro could kill the Firelord. That was basically their whole convoluted plot, Mr. K and Princess Aishan's.
Wait. Okay. I'm gonna really throw myself under the bus here, but I didn't catch any of that in the episode. It all went over my head. I was like, all right, save the people, finding secrets out. So, like, was she getting married to Mr. K or Conjuro?
So she was getting there was a secret wedding to get married to Condro, because y'all had gone to the wedding to make sure that nothing crazy happened, because you had been led to believe that something was going to happen. You didn't know.
But the wedding we went to wasn't the secret wedding, was it?
That was a secret wedding. It was like
Oh,
up in the
okay.
mountains. The only people there were like the only people in the actual wedding ceremony attendance were like the princesses, like royal retainers.
Oh, I swear at the time I was just like, oh, it's a small procession.
Nope.
Okay, and so, but now you're saying the wedding was a hoax and it was all a plan to fuck over Conjuro?
Pretty much, and to like I said, just to get him, because Princess Zayshawn basically hates her brother, Fire Lord Sozin, believes that she should be the Fire Lord, and so this is just basically a way to get a political assassination attempt that would be seen by the people as morally right, basically framing the Fire Lord Sozin for executing a unfit marriage that from Condro to Princess Zayshawn.
That's crazy. I'm so sorry I missed all that because that is spicy.
Hey, it was a lot going on. I
Yeah.
understand.
Didn't quite
We're
catch
fighting for our
all
lives.
Princess's implications in that, but got some of that.
Yeah.
Taylor, can you talk again? Your audio is so quiet.
I'll project more. My headphones died, so it's my computer microphone. I'm sorry.
Oh, all good. I think I also had my stuff turned down too, so.
Gotcha.
And then on Conjure side of things, he was basically marrying Princess Zayshawn because he believed that he one fell in love with her, got tricked, got duped. Two, believed that the political favor would help him like basically get the air nomads to leave the Fire Nation. Essentially, he believed that having a royal in the Fire Nation would help kind of get rid of any other attempts at like a fire and air learning center. He was hoping for something like that. Did it as a secret because obviously it was very counter to his goal of not being involved in other people's nation's affairs. Khandra was very dual-natured in that way, we'll say. Duplicitous is a better word.
It's Strahd.
Strahd. But
Oh
anyways,
yeah, that was a Strahd.
so after this whole city hall thing happens, the Fire Nation tries to arrest Khandra. Khandra gets revealed as the strongest character so far in game as he just levels the concrete with airbending and just tears apart all the Fire Nation guards. And Strahd, Kimado / Strahd help the group get away. Besides Ayase, who was still being basically put down by her father. Basically telling her that she's just useless. We basically get a lot of front skin of like all of the abuse Mr. K has given to Yase over the years, telling her to make sure that her friends stay in line and don't cause any trouble or they would be arrested and killed. To which Ayase said, I'm going to go train with these random people in the beach. Because then we got the beach episode. Favorite part of this episode, we revealed Mr. Poe is a secret airbender all along. Best part.
That was pretty fun.
Mr. Poe is a master of disguise and also an airbender. He's also moonlighted as the Commerce Guild Master.
Oh, that's right.
Who flipped a Lotus coin to Ayase to kind of
Lotus, you say?
which is both a nod to the White Lotus and also the Iron Lotus, I suppose. Commerce Guild Master Hong.
Hey, I don't even think I mentioned that like Giva's whole thing is metal bending. That's why like the name is Iron Lotus, in case y'all were missing that piece of information. There you go.
What's her name?
Yu Yan. Come
Yu
on.
Yan. So they are beach episode training, basically Commerce Guild Master. So Mr. Poe sneaks them out of the Flutterbat Inn because they're being looked for. Specifically, Ashrad's being looked for arrest for just being an air nomad, pretty much. Because Mr. K had basically lied and said that all the air nomads were conspiring with the Guiding Wind to invade the Fire Nation or some craziness like that. So Astrad was going to get arrested, like all the other air nomad peeps. But Astrad decides, I'm going to go train with my soldiers. We learn that Astrad has a group of children soldiers up in the mountains that have been waiting for a chance to strike this entire time. Probably one of the funnier reveals, especially about Astrad in episode 4. He trains with a only cameo I did so far. Monk Gyatso, the trainer air nomad master that trained Aang, and also trained with Avatar Roku. We learned a little bit more about Astrad's backstory, where he basically competed with Gyatso, was friends with Gyatso, to also train with the Avatar, lost out, kind of lost in touch with his friend / rival, and kind of got more serious, became a more militaristic person who trained his own students, including a spy in the Guiding Wind, who he learned was converted over to the Guiding Wind's principles by Khandra. Because I think one thing that there wasn't enough screen time to really do for Khandra, but he's also a very charismatic and persuasive person. Not quite Dai Li levels of persuasion / hypnotism / mind control, but almost on that level.
Charisma. Do what I say or die.
See, that's not even that. Mukta was not afraid of Chondro. Mukta was just fully convinced that yes, the air nomads should leave because of Chondro's XYZ reasons he gave. But anyways, the rest of the group kind of had their own awakenings, training with Yu Yan, a famed archer of the Fire Nation, who was kind of became a rebel after they started hunting dragons. That was a big thing of Sozin. Just wanted to hunt down all the dragons and kill them, which obviously angered a bunch of spirits. And Yu Yan was like, no. So she started kind of getting involved in some sort of secret rebel organization. Kind of the full extent of that, not really revealed. Seemed to just be her and Mr. Poe, and maybe some kind of connection to Gyatso. But yeah, they trained the group up to basically keep a watch on the wedding while they kind of broke out all of the prisoners, all of the air nomad prisoners from their cells. But yeah, that was our training episode. Was all that stuff. Says yes. Before we go into the finale, I'll do some more of these questions, or do some of these questions rather. What were some of y'all's? Who were some of y'all's favorite NPCs?
My favorite was the innkeeper / commerce master / airbender.
The man of many hats, Mr. Poe.
He was so sweet, and he warned us about getting attacked maybe, and then he helped us train, and then he was the commerce master. He was under all of it.
Mm-hmm.
He was like in the thick of it. So I really liked him.
He was a real one, as the young ones say. I actually really liked Ninche the most, as much as like I sort of like she betrayed me at the end, and Giba's going to probably hate her forever for that. But Megan, me, hello. I like her a lot. I think there's like a lot of dimension that was put into her, and I was so like caught off guard when her like betrayal is revealed towards the end. I can't help but like her. I thought she was like a very compelling character. I won't say a good character, but she's very dynamic, and it was really fun to watch that reveal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, Ninja is just the best character. I like Ninja because she's very much, simply say, mirror for Ayase,
Mm-hmm.
and that we were both two people who kept it all bottled up inside for so long, and ultimately kind of went about it in two different ways. I had to find an internal justification for me being able to escape from the purview of my father character,
Mm-hmm.
whereas she doubled down onto that side because she could not find a justification, or
Mm-hmm.
also the whole estranged marriage, perhaps pushing her over the edge, leveraged it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a great comedy of errors, say, and Shay are just two people who really, in truth, weren't friends, but would have been able to support one another had they actually talked as real people, which is what that whole last combat exchange we made of it,
Mm-hmm.
which I really like that. I like
Yeah.
that scene.
Yeah, Ninja
I don't remember anything I said, but I remember the roleplay was really good.
It's really good.
Can't remember a thing I said.
Do you think though that like the fallout that happens between Ayase and Ninche, like I thought it made Giba grow a lot closer to Ayase.
Yeah.
Like I mean, at the beginning, like if y'all watched with us throughout this, like Giva and Ayase were just mean as heck to each other from the onset. And that lasts a while. And then like later is like that sort of like black sheep persona becomes more apparent to Giva. And then I think at the very end when she like I think I just felt like such deep sympathy for like your character who's being like abused and abandoned left and right. It was really good for like the group dynamics, but must suck for the character.
Yeah, that kind of transitions to favorite scenes. I know mine. I really love the beach episode training arc. It's where I felt like a lot of that thawing started between a lot of this specific group of three characters. Kind of starting to realize that you're all, again, kind of use your words, kind of black sheep in a way. Which is really funny because Estrada is also very much a black sheep.
Still is.
Just he's a black sheep of his own group, but also the Air Nomad people.
You haven't won him over yet.
I don't think we will. I think we're gonna start next arc, and it's just he's gonna have his own.
No, we'll see.
But yeah, favorite scenes from y'all. What are some of your favorite moments?
Well, I would be lying if I didn't say that the sneaky janitor scene is not number one for me and Kayla. Like putting on mustaches, like sneaking into a palace. Like it was so comical. It's like that. It's like when you're watching, actual Avatar and like you're really in the midst of this heavy plot and then you get something to laugh about. Yeah, it was really fun, but I think my runner-up is like Ayase and Giba sort of like Giba really wants to protect Ayase in like that last episode, and I
Mm-hmm.
really liked that. It was a lot of role playing that I got to do, which I love, and I think that's why I like Avatar a lot as opposed to D&D. There's just a lot more room for role playing.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I was able to do a lot of character development in that of like Ayase being this person who embodies everything that Kiba hates, and then at the end, like Kiba feeling like such this like sort of protective urge to defend Ayase however she can. I was really happy. I was able to like have that little RP moment.
My favorite moments are all the times that we saved Estrad and he's still ungrateful. My top being when I saved him from Chondro. Sure, we did the janitor mustache sneaking part. And I water whipped him away.
We could not win that man over.
No
Not at all.
free bird.
So yeah, I think those are my
Spicy
favorite
of
parts.
Jake, though.
Do what?
I think that's very spicy of Jake, though. Like, it would have been easy just to be like, all right, let me go with the group. But, like, he really refuses. And it's not, like, just Jake, though. Like, it does make sense for, like, the character that he made. He's got this whole other kid family over there.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that whole thing. Basically, like the reason he split, Jake was like, I really wanted Kimido to roll, basically the persuasion, the plead, or whatever check we ended up doing to get him to stay. And I think Kimido just kept not passing. So, well, we're gonna do his own training arc then.
That's how it went.
That's spicy.
Moments I like. Ninja fight easy, but I don't know. I'll be more selfish. I like the Sekimoto fight for the training group.
Yeah.
Selfish because it's when, hey, my build's suddenly alive. I can do a cool combo.
I got to fight finally.
I finally did something, and I felt kind of cool. But, I mean, it had compelling narrative consequences, too. So,
Yep.
it's probably the best moment I had with Yamato. Probably.
I mean, that fight's really good because it's like Kimido kind of walks away from the training arc still unsure of herself. Partly because the dice that's the story the dice kept telling, because we kept trying to bloodbend and trying to bloodbend and trying to bloodbend, and it was really the last moment to finally get that going. But it also, I feel like, worked really well for Kimido's character. How do you feel, Kayla?
agree. I think it took me a very long time. The one question that's on here about the aspect that we would like to see improve, definitely the dice rolls. They were a struggle.
Hey,
So
Garrett,
yeah,
fix the dice. Okay.
I think it was a good thing that it was like, oh, when I like needed it most. Granted, what I was trying to do to Ayase was not bloodbending, but still, it does. It made it kind of nice and fun narrative that I finally was able to bloodbend at the end when I needed it most. That was nice. I still don't like the dice rolls though.
Gosh, listen, there's two of them. It's supposed to be a better ratio.
Bell curve of 2d6 is so unfavorable.
Yeah, you have 2 dice that you can get ones on.
Twice as many chances of 1.
Yeah.
Some players will never be pleased.
Never mind the fact that minimum roll is 2. Never mind that.
Mm-hmm.
Never mind that all you need to pass is a 7. But anyways, I guess we'll go back into our recap before we close things out. So episode 5 was a lot of traveling. We had basically the group travel. That's when a Ninche fight happens. They stop by Ayase's house to pick up clothes to change into more formal wear for the wedding. Because this group is anything. They're stylish.
It's all the stash.
It's all the stash. But Ninche is
Please,
waiting
please
for.
note, I just put a finger up to my face to denote a mustache, as if I don't have facial hair.
Yep.
Ignore me.
So that's where Ninche was waiting to basically ambush them and prevent them. Mr. K had basically stationed her there in case Ayase comes by the summer home, prevent her from coming to the wedding, or I'll kill her if she comes to the wedding. Pretty much how that conversation went. And Ninche basically, there's a similar moment. So the moment I'm thinking of, it's very supposed to be similar in a way to like when Neville Longbottom kind of stands up to, the trio in the first Harry Potter book. Because it's like, if y'all break the rules, you're going to get Gryffindor in trouble again, and blah, 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 blah. And it's supposed to be kind of similar, with obviously much graver stakes, but very similar moment in a way. Ninche, I think, despite Give Us Feelings now, Ninche cares very much about the 3 people, because Ninche is, at the end of the day, a good person, I should say.
So sailed. I don't think buses sail, but that one has.
What's a bus?
Extraordinary circumstances.
Meanwhile, Lestrade is he's at the actual wedding venue, kind of spying it out, also trying to see if anything crazy is going to happen there. So he sneaks in. Him and like his group of students sneak in. Like all of them get captured because thanks to his former student Mukta basically ratting out his strategy. So they all get captured. It's okay. Lestrade just sneaks back in. We learn what everyone in this group has like this secret power in a way that makes them a special. So Lestrade's in a way is almost like seismic sense via airbending. Very on the moment thing that I was like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Quick, what are everybody else's?
Chi blocking slash chi firebending, metal bending, and blood bending. And also Kimura can heal people, and also Kiva can seismic sense, and also Ayase can lightning bend. But
You're not gonna give us a list of cool superpowers and have us pick the most average ones. Like, oh yeah, I have the option to seismic sense and metal bend, but I'm just gonna be a plain earthbender.
Could have reflavored it as sand. It would have been so cool.
Now that would reveal my obsession with Gara.
wrong obsession. You can't just combine Toph and Gara like that,
But wait.
Anyway,
Y'all were wondering my BuzzFeed quiz results were Earthbender.
Oh, BuzzFeed. That's
Oh
possible.
man. And then our group of three made it to the wedding venue. Basically, we were able to sneak in pretty easily and get a spot on uh, the bride's side. I think is where we decided to sit. Um, Giva using her seismic sense. I think I sensed Mr. K leaving, and so Kimito was like, "I'll go spy it out." Whatever. So Kimito and also Estrad on the other side see Mr. K kill Mukta. We learned that Mr. K is also very strong and can lava bend via his fire bending skills. Very cool, Mr. K. And then it's also revealed, of course, at the end of that episode that and I also brought an army of Fire Nation soldiers to kill all the Guiding Wind people here, and anyone else who gets in the way, which leads us into episode 6, our last battle. As the first half of the episode is very much everyone trying to protect the civilians and get them out safely. Even Estrad flew in that once he realized, hey, why aren't you guys escaping? Estrad flies in to help. Mr. K kills Hayate, Condra's second in command personally. The implication being that all of Condra's people are killed by Mr. K and the soldiers. Condro is distracted by the rest of the retinue of Fire Nation soldiers before we can get to Mr. K. So our group is forced to deal with Mr. K first. I think because of a fun call out from Ayase asking, "What's the point of all this?" And Mr. K saying, "I'm just gonna kill you now."
Oof. He's a very gray character.
In the battle that ensued, Estrada was knocked out, or nearly, I think knocked out. I think he was also fully knocked out, maybe almost burned alive. I don't remember if he was fully knocked out, but we did get Kimito using bloodbending first time to stop Mr. K from killing Ayase for a second, and then he gives everyone basically a chance to attack Mr. K, weaken him a bit. But as the fight continues, Mr. K seemingly kills Hayase. So Giva, in turn, uses her powers to put an earth spike through Mr. K and kill him.
God, I did that.
You really
yeah,
did
I
destabilize
did.
the region.
I did, in fact, kill Ayase's dad. Man, we can be friends still, right?
Oh man, you thought Poppy was having the emo arc. Oh.
Wait, so Ayase's
Poppy
emo
is
arc.
having an e-mark.
Um,
Don't downplay Poppy's grief.
You said it. Those were your words, okay?
Oh man. But anyways, Kimito is able to use her healing powers to heal the wound enough for Ayase to not die. Very, very cool. Very, very thanks, Kimito. The group basically retreats back up the mountain to Astrad's hiding spots where he's been hiding his soldiers. Basically, the group, we end the season. The group questioning what's next for them. Are they going to be criminals of the state? The Princess Aishan is MIA, and no one knows where she is. Post wedding debacle. Monk Gyatso, Ryoshai, and Mr. Poe had rescued all the other air nomad soldiers, so they plan on leaving the Fire Nation after all of this is said and done. The group had a conversation with Condro, where Condro was ready to level the entire place and kill anyone who gets in his way. They tried to talk him out of going and killing the Fire Lord, but that didn't go well. So he continues to on his rampage, killing the rest of the Fire Nation soldiers. And then he is kind of also missing in action post all of that. Maybe collapsed the cave network on top of himself. Maybe. But yeah, Princess Aishon MIA, Chondro also MIA, probably on a warpath to the Fire Lord, as at the end of the day, the group won the battle, but maybe lost the war. As they look around and ask, and honestly goes, am I like a criminal of my own country now, or that's where we left season 1. Very, very dour ending in the end.
Times. They were all good times.
Good times. Any thoughts on the ending of season 1?
I liked it.
I went better than I would have expected. Had I known that we were fighting Mr. K from the beginning.
I await with a mix of anticipation and utter fear of the consequences on this world.
This is where I do the funny GM thing and revealed that Mr. K was not always intended to be the final villain of season 1.
Yeah.
That was a decision I made after basically his reveal on screen. I was like, I enjoyed the kind of nature that he brought to as a threat enough that I was like, he could be the villain instead. Originally, the group would have fought Chondro, LOL.
But he might be right, though.
Chondro might be right. That's also a good point. Hey,
better chances.
More of a chance than Mr. K, which is 0. But yeah, that was the decision I kind of made halfway through. Just switch. Mr. K would have been a recurring villain for season 2.
I think that's spicy.
But now who's going to follow us on a boat every other episode?
Who's the new Admiral Zhao?
I was going to say Team Rocket, but okay. Yeah, that's a little better.
Don't worry, Avatar has built-in boat followers. Shoot. Technically, Zuko and Iroh were boat guys first.
Big boat guys.
But yeah, what plot threads are you guys most excited about going forward?
Interested to see Estrad actually interact with our group more, like figuring out like where he fits into this story, because I think so far it's been heavy Iron Lotus and then Ayase warming up to the group. And so for most of like this season we haven't actually been that united. It's more just like what we're doing happened to align with other people's goals, so we were together, which makes sense for like the introduction phase of any story. So I think for the next season, I'm really interested to see how we form a more cohesive group, not just with Estrad, but also with like Ayase. Because I think like me and Kayla's characters, like we start off as like a solid unit. And so it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic unifies with the other two.
Yeah, I am interested to see on the kind of the same thread how Ayase ends up blending with the group. Because she kind of, like you said, Meg, Giva and Kamado kind of had a camaraderie already, and so then it was like them against the world, and Ayase was almost like the enemy. But now, obviously, we've risked our lives for each other. We've tried to save each other in multiple different scenarios and stuff. So I'm interested to see more how the friendship could grow and how Ayase could learn about being a commoner.
We're gonna build to that Ayase Iron Lotus salute.
Yeah.
That'll be the big season 2 moment.
No, I'll do it before I explode. I think that's how payoff-based writing dictates my character should do. Looking forward to season 2. Um, without like just entering like fan fiction prediction tier, I anticipate or I foresee a better sense of narrative purpose because we are ostensibly all kind of now. I don't know if it'll be as simple as a we're on the run story or what, but I think now that we all been mutually implicated into something, we now have a way for us to be together. So it's not going to just be like 30 minutes of me doing a political thing and then them two doing a sneaky thing and Estrada doing a military thing. I think we have an easy way together, and I'd like to see where we can go from there.
Yeah, kind of on that thread. I think what I'm looking forward to most is leaving the Fire Nation. To not give everything away. I have a very excited, I'm very excited to do. Very fun way that I think the group will love. On this group in particular will love how they get out of the Fire Nation.
That sounds spicy. I would love to do something in like the Earth or Water Nation to address sort of like I think with the Iron Lotus, what I've tried to do a lot is like hint at the tensions of what the Earth Nation is going through, and then also like the horrible traditions of the Water Nation as well. So it would be really fun to sort of like change locations and dive more into that political drama because until now it's, aside from us like expressing to other characters like, oh yeah, it's like really messed up over there. It's been very focused on Fire and Air Nation.
Mm-hmm. And you have pretty much hit the nail on the head. The season 1 is very much a delving into like Ayase / Estrade's backstories, whereas season 2, again, not really a spoiler. The larger focus is on Giva and Kimato's backstories.
Okay, well, we're important.
I'm pumped.
It can be a little important, right? Just a little.
Yeah, it just will be a little important. But yeah, how do y'all feel about your character's journey so far? Like where it's headed, I suppose.
I do. I think that Kimato is on a good path to mastering her bending. She could really use some work on some of it, but we'll just see what the dice have in store for Kimato's bending.
And I don't know. I think I really want to hammer out how I feel about Giva's character because I think she started out pretty one dimensional of like, I care a lot about the rebellion and Kimato's the only person that matters to me. And she's a little bigoted at the beginning, to be honest. Like, she's got the best intentions, but she's definitely very opinionated about classes and also nations. Um, and so I think I'm gonna create maybe a more cohesive narrative that makes sense, trying to figure out maybe why her character is so opposed to, higher classes and why she's so closed off like she is. But I would like to explore the bending a lot more as well. I don't know though. It's very up in the air. She started out as like a concrete idea, And then I think as I played her, it got really messy, and then now I'm just trying to bring it all back in again.
Mm-hmm.
What was the question again exactly? Sorry.
What? How do you feel about your character's personal journey so far, and how it looks going forward?
Okay. Um, I would say for the most part, Ayase's journey was like what I had in mind when I made the character. I mean, just due to we don't play this game as often, and things went a little fast.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it wasn't like my first want of the world, but I still like how it worked out. Just kind of midway through, it's kind of like, oh crap, I'm awesome actually. Like just like power wise.
Yep.
Um, like I think I had it in mind. Maybe I would be very long term, um, not very like combat able. It, I'm amused by the idea of still having that sort of princess vibe. Just like, oh, help me, please. I can't do it. But then, like, oh shit, somebody's coming my way.
Mm-hmm.
The it's like the I don't know one of those great princess deconstructions. But anyway, going forward with her, I mean, it's an extremely unknown area because now is theoretically her first time of being able to experience some sort of freedom. But as I say with like all of my characters ever, because I have one character I play over and over again, it's like, oh no, I'm still trapped. There's no end to this vicious cycle. Um, so have to I have to figure out exactly what way, because basically, like, the best way for me to progress, I think, is to regress a little bit. I'm not saying to undo my plot development, but I'm going to have to like basically double down on something, or just kind of have an unhealthy coping mechanism, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah, I'll be more fighty and get my ass kicked a lot because I don't have bonuses to my attack rolls, but don't know exactly. I'm
Sure.
probably gonna just pick an idea I find amusing and hammer it into my flanderized season 2 character progression. I always love a good season 2 character progression.
Well, thank y'all for sharing all those thoughts. One thing that will probably be very helpful for the viewers is, Avatar Legends, still a new game, still out there on Kickstarter, so still, I think, just now starting to get available for sale. Again, we're not sponsored, so I don't have a lot of details, and I am not paid to have details. But what might be helpful for some of the viewers, though, is what do you like, kind of that might be unique to Avatar Legends as a game?
I really like that the turn order isn't like initiative in D&D. It like depends on what you want to do. And so that's kind of cool because you're not stuck in the same order every single time. Um, which could make it harder to prepare, could not. But I like that it's kind of flexible and that there's like rewards depending on which you choose to do as well.
I love the flexibility of this game. I love basically any role-playing game, and as much as I like D&D, there's a lot of things that go into D&D. You've got a million stats, abilities, skills, etc., and it's like a lot of information.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with Avatar, it's pretty simple. Like you've got those like four categories: passion, focus, other stuff. Giba only cares about passion and focus. and it sort of simplifies like a broad range of actions into certain categories. And instead of making the game really narrow in that sense, I think it really just it's flexible. I think that's the best word for it. Of like you can do a lot of the role playing that you want to do in other games more simply.
Mm-hmm.
It's just easier that way. Uh, I don't have to like spend a whole 15 minutes looking at my character sheet, figuring out what I want to do, how I want to do it. Instead, with Airbender, I just like, hey, I want to use this move. Let me roll this dice. You'll roll that dice, and it's just a little more straightforward,
Mm-hmm.
but also broad. And I think it's really nice. Like if you wanted to get into tabletop role playing games, I think this is pretty perfect for it.
Yeah. I agree with a lot of that. I would add, like I said earlier, I like the increased sort of emphasis the game places on emotions
Mm-hmm.
and your own personal development. You know, it's pretty hard baked in there with the whole the harmony roles,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't know if this is the critique section. I would have liked to see more balance testing.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of things that were, you know, narrative wise testing our balance, but we didn't really actually use that feature very often,
Yep.
which I find that's one of the more interesting ones to me. I like the way it has the positive and negative, you know, literal modifiers, but also consequences.
Yep. That's been a
Um,
feature I've looked at a lot. Started studying more as we get into season 2 for sure. So.
yeah, and another thing, just as a D&D 5e player, I really appreciate the differences in the way all the different techniques work.
Mm-hmm.
Like the more I think about it, the more I think like they're they are actually all different. Like they have like a nice little bit of flavor to differentiate them. You know, there's not just a simple fireball per se.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the name of the technique. I know there's your standard high damage one,
Yep.
but I like the creativity that captures a lot of different ways that you see bending in Avatar and ways that you could logically extend some of the things you see in Avatar. So I got to make I've got to make a pretty cool character with a concept that mostly meshed really well in the world, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like one small other thing. I don't know why this came to me, but I really like sort of the impetus of failure in this game is on you and not so much on okay, so when you want to use something in this game, you roll dice and you test your ability. And if you get a 7 or higher, you get to do it because, wow, you believe in yourself or you're trained enough. Cool. As opposed to in like D&D where it's the saving throw
Yeah.
that would determine whether or not you succeed. It's just, oh man, that guy's just way too cool. I can't hit him. You know, it's all based on my skills and ability.
Yeah.
I don't have to rely on other people just being better.
Yeah. I mean, from a GMC, like I don't roll at all, which is definitely very different for like a lot of people who are probably used to D&D, where every single thing in the game, no matter what side of the table you're on, has to be a roll. But like largely for me, when I'm designing or picking things for stat blocks and things like that, I largely look at how will this basically increase urgency without taking away players' actions and what they can do. Basically, how can I add more fatigue? How is that, or throw a condition on or whatever to basically give an urgency. You still feel in danger. It's like Mr. K fight. Everyone felt in danger the entire fight, but you had still all the options on the table. You didn't. No option was ever taken away from you, really. Really the closest thing this game even has to like something that I can do as a takeaway is like there is a flee/escape move, I think, that I can sacrifice my fatigue to prevent you from leaving, but that's about it. So
if you ever made another metal bender, it'd be alarming. If you got to play a fully powered one.
You never
What's wrong
know.
with metal bending? What?
Oh, they just have the ability to turn off any way of escaping and then I forget the move, but yeah, just the standard, metal
Metal
coffin
metal
thing.
bindings. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Man,
Wow.
but okay, listen. I like that there is a limited menu of actions in Avatar. Not because I feel restricted at all, but I feel often in Dungeons and Dragons, if that's what we're comparing this to, like I feel like the broad range of actions in D&D are so spelled out and they're so limited in that same way. Like for instance, like with Poppy, like I have a wide range of things I can do, but I always want to maximize my damage output, so I'm always just shooting my bow. That's
Yeah.
it. That's all I do. Like I have a bunch of other cool things my character can do, but because I'm worried about HP and all this other stuff, all I ever do is shoot my bow. But because those elements work differently in this game, and because there's a limited menu of options you can choose from that do a lot more, I feel like I can actually select from that limited menu without hurting my success outcome. I can do defensive maneuvers without worrying about what damage I'm doing. I can do other things in this game because I'm not worried about health points, because I'm not thinking like, oh, well, metal binding is cool and all, but it doesn't do damage. I need to do metal shards. I have to shoot them right now. Um, I think that really helps this game a lot. It's kind of hard to describe, like, if you're not playing the game, but if you've played this compared to D&D, I feel like it's, like, very, very noticeable.
Yeah. I think for me, the one thing I like from a player scene, and I'll go into kind of more of a GM scene, what I like is that you'll always have an option of a thing to do. It may come with a cost, but you even if you roll terribly, you can still pay a cost usually and still do something. It may not be what you wanted to do in some cases, but it is still something at the end of the day, which is I think a feature that I do like about this game. From a GM standpoint, I've played games far simpler, far more complicated from a role playing standpoint. This is a nice little spot in the middle for I think anyone who wants to kind of maybe step into a GM seat for the first time. This is a game that I think actually lends itself pretty well. It's not so simple as you just roll 2d6 and describe what you're doing. Um, it's a little bit more complicated than that. There's like Meg said, there's a menu of options that do a lot of things, and you don't really have to get familiar. You really only have to be familiar with what you want to use, which is good. Whereas I think D&D, you kind of have to be familiar with every stat and how it can interact. Sometimes, at least for me, because I'm DMing for a player group of 7, so it's a bit more things come up from that regard. But yeah, from a GM standpoint, I mean, you won't find another game with as many resources to play a simple game. And, you have the shows, you have all the books. This even comes with they have example adventures and things like that. They even have example NPCs. Fun fact: Ninche is a example NPC that I have pulled from.
What?
She
Not
was
OC.
great.
Trash.
Don't
Put
worry.
it away.
Don't
Wow.
worry. Ninche is still probably my self insert. But anyways, um, I know we kind of touched on it a little bit. What any changes you'd like to see from like either a game standpoint or a campaign standpoint? My GM style standpoint. Is there anything that you all would like to see change in season 2? I know Carson, you touched on it a little bit already, but
Let's see some good rolls from Kimado.
I'll do my best.
I just like rolling my dice more often. As much as I love role playing, I feel like rolling the dice really brings in the element of the game. So I want more combat encounters. I want more, hey, I want to communicate with this person and you tell me, okay, roll this. It adds just a little bit more of a spice element than us just talking. you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know too much. Like I said, I like the idea of pushing the balance mechanic a little bit more. Um, Other than that, I think we just came off of a lot of really big highs and lows character moments. I think we were very, and not way, but by the end we were very like big moment focused. So maybe
Mm-hmm.
if we had like a little bit, a little bit of a breather in some moments. Of course, there needs to be a sense of urgency to dictate in the upcoming plots, but if, hmm,
Yeah,
yeah,
by anime standards, I do think we're on time for a swimsuit beach vacation episode.
We did a beach episode already. You can't keep.
No, that was a training arc on a beach. Different than a beach episode. Anyone who watches anime know what I'm talking about.
like I've already made my plot call known to the world, and I will declare it now. We will become the merry band of thieves on the run from the
Hello.
law. We
I'm
hang we
expecting a
hang out
scene where Ayase comes out of a beach hut being like, is this swimsuit okay? And there being like little sparklies and all these anime guys playing volleyball that come up to her. That is what we're due for.
Fine.
Tropes, Garrett, tropes.
Fine.
It's
Well,
okay. Tropes are fine, actually.
well.
I'm fairly certain that's actually an Avatar
Yeah, that is.
episode
It is.
as
It is the
well.
best. It is the best
You
Avatar
just
episode. It's in season 3. It is the best. I used to know the name off my top of my head.
It's in every anime. Every anime I've ever watched beach episode.
Oh, it's just called The Beach. No worries.
no simple.
Simple. Best episode. Episode 5, book 3. Watch it every time.
Unskippable.
Unskippable. You'll feel like you're in filler, but you're not. you're
That
in a good
This
place.
isn't Naruto.
that's a good vibe to go for. Feels like filler, but isn't.
But anyways, there's no better way to end this other than the call for beach episodes. Thank you for watching and catching up on season 1 with us. We'll be back with our season 2 session next month. We'll have more details over on our Shauna Rising stream. Make sure to check us out over on Tuesdays at 7 as well. But we'll have more details to come on when our next Avatar Season 2 premiere is. Thank you for watching. Thank you again, Magpie Games, being great, making this game, kickstarting it, and all of that. Maybe I'll do better learning all the details of the game and like how it's released and all that another time. Pay me. Anyways, bye.
Oh, wait.
Oh,
Follow us on our Instagram as well. We will also get better about posting updates for season breaks, one shots, and stuff in our Instagram stories. That's a really good way to keep up with us, and we would appreciate the follow.
follow on Instagram.
I think it's
Official.
that's the name.
Don't worry, it's also on stream. on the great design template that Meg made.
I'm still waiting for my artist icon badge.
I'm not in charge of the department. Anyways, bye.